Stephen A., do you think he's ready to start?
I think he is, because your alternative are unproven commodities, and if your alternative are unproven commodities, and he's the guy that you moved up to get, and you take into consideration what his college coach Dabo Swinney has said about him, how he's raved about him, you combine that with the fact that he's been to 2 consecutive national championship games where he's combined to pass for over 850 yards in the air, and he's been a stone cold winner, and then you take into account Foster out of Alabama, Jonathan Allen out of Alabama, and others talk about what a rough rider and a dog he was because they kept knocking him down. He kept getting up. He kept coming. Rick Smith, the general manager for the Houston Texans, who came on my radio show to give that sound, when he was talking about it, he talked about him having the chance to get the job. But I think that it's one of those situations where there's absolutely positively nothing wrong with giving it to him if he shows that he's ready for the playbook. I have no questions that he's ready from a talent perspective to deserve that opportunity to come right out the block to be the starting job. The only question is whether or not he will have mastered the playbook by then. That's my only trepidation. If that's not an issue, he should be in there from week 1.
Sometimes on a sports talk show, the good question is the one that elicits strong opinions, especially if they're opposite opinions. And sometimes the good questions are good because there's not an easy answer. This, to me, is very tricky, Stephen A., very tricky. I said before the draft, Houston was the team most in need of a quarterback because I think this Houston team is ready to win a Super Bowl. I think the only thing they're missing, they don't have elite offensive line protection, but it's good enough. It's better than, let's say, Denver or a place like that. The only thing they're really missing to put them over the hump is a quarterback. And so they drafted one, and they drafted the one who was most proven in college, who has all those kind of leadership skills you need. Now, eventually one day, a rookie quarterback's going to win the Super Bowl. That's going to happen. You'd think, enough seasons are played, and it's likely eventually to happen. And this team is ready to win a Super Bowl, and Deshaun Watson's a leader. But I don't know that he's the leader to take this team to a Super Bowl. If he does start, they need to use a heavily run-based offense to let him develop on the job. But I don't know that he gives them their best chance to win the Super Bowl right now, and I think with a little better quarterback play, they'd really be in contention. The offensive line, as I mentioned, is not great. Do you want to start a rookie behind an offensive line that's not great? Dak had the kind of success he had, not only because he's the man, but because he had a great offensive line and a great running back to alleviate some of the pressure. And even then, they didn't win a playoff game. In this case, the Texans have a defense that's ready to win now, and they have certain offensive weapons. What they really needed was a good veteran quarterback so that Deshaun Watson could develop over the next year or two. They don't have that. And so maybe Deshaun Watson starts. You hope it doesn't actually slow down his progress. They need him to develop, but they also need to compete right now. Usually teams do not find themselves in the position that Houston Texans do. Ideally, he wouldn't be starting right now. If they must start him because he wins the job outright, a heavily run-based offense is what they need to rely upon.